I am so grateful to be part of a church that honors so well. I was totally ambushed when that ordination happened. Just so you all know the behind the scenes. You watch those shows about the behind the scenes. Is we're sitting out there and I'm sitting there just enjoying worship, just amongst, and I see Pastor Nathan and Pastor Seth just standing up here like creepily in the corner of the stage. And, Pastor Mark's up here, and I'm thinking, what are they doing? Like, get off the stage. Let's move on. And then he calls me up, and my parents were already in town. And then he calls my dad up, and I'm going, oh, no. Because I've become more of a leaker, I cry more. Now that my son has been born, it just opened the floodgates aren't open yet, but there's a crack in the dam, And so it was a crazy emotional time, but it was I've never felt more honored to be a part of a church like I am here. So thank you guys for that, and thank Pastor Mark for that, for leading by example. Before we get started, our vision here at a church is to help people know God, find freedom, discover purpose, and make a difference. And so we have all different types of opportunities to do that here. And we just did this big Love Happens campaign. We're still doing that as our giving campaign for Christmas. But we got to serve people all over the community. It was amazing. Our students packed 5,000 meals, and so we got to do all those things. Then yesterday there was a campus cleanup, mulching day, and the campus looks amazing, Tom. It looks awesome. So all you guys who came and helped, it looks incredible. I drove up on campus yesterday afternoon. I'm like, man, this looks so good. And just people who love helping people. And so we are making a huge difference. And we've got an opportunity to do that this week. It's a 1-week deal. And this is the reason why this is so important to me. As the student pastor, when we were getting ready to package those meals, I was talking to the guy from the organization called Kids Against Hunger. And he was like, well, yeah, we have this many homeless people in Manatee County. And then he proceeded to tell me we have over 2,000 homeless students and children in Manatee County. And to me, that kind of rocked me, because as a student pastor, you just don't necessarily see that all the time. And we have a table outside. We're collecting toys, diapers, underwear, pull-ups, those types of things for kids in crisis. And what that means is they're in a dangerous situation at home. They literally get pulled out of their home with what they have on them, and that's it. And so what we are doing is trying to bring in toys, bring in diapers, things so that they have something that they can call their own when they're in just a turmoil situation. Their whole world's falling apart around them. They're just yanked out of a home, trying to put them in a better position, but just kind of leaving them in a lurch. And so here's my request to you guys. This is something that's really not hard to do. There are things, coming out yesterday, taking time out of your Saturday to mulch and whatever, that takes time. This is something that you're out Christmas shopping, grocery shopping anyway. What does it take to spend $10 extra to buy a toy or a package of diapers for a kid? And this is something that it may seem small, and you may go, well, a $10 toy, that's not a whole lot. But when you think about it, this will make a difference in a kid's life. When their whole world is rocked, a $10 toy that you just picked up while you were checking off things off of your Christmas list can make a huge, huge, huge difference in these kids' lives and go a long way toward making an impression on them. So we have that opportunity starting today, throughout the week, and then ending next Sunday. We're doing this toy drive. There's a table outside. I would say, even if you're not sure, go out there. There's flyers. You can talk to Miss Shelley about it. She can give you even more details than I can. But this is an opportunity for us to love on children and students in a really practical, simple way. So I just wanted to throw that out there so you guys know about it, so that you guys can continue, because this church is just enormously generous to continue to love on people and not let that stop with a campaign like Love Happens. So before we move on, I just want to pray, and then we'll dive in. So pray with me. Father God, thank you for today. And God, thank you for your word. And I pray as we dive back into this series, Island of Misfit Toys, God, that we would find your purpose for our life. that you would show us something new. The Christmas story is something we've heard over and over and over again. But God, I just pray that you would bring something new to our minds, that you would bring something fresh that we can walk out of here and use, God. So again, thank you and bless the ears that are hearing this. In your name I pray. Amen. As a student pastor, when I got asked to speak in the Island of Misfit Toys series, I felt overqualified. I love our students, okay? I do. But, I mean, the Misfit Toys series and students just kind of fits together, you know? It's a series, a time of life where it's just transitioned the whole time. Some of you, if I just say the word middle school, you cringe. Because you start to picture yourself in headgear and you're like, no, not that again. Or braces, you know. I remember I had braces and they would like break. I broke a bracket one time because I ate stuff I wasn't supposed to eat. You can't chew bubble gum, you can't eat popcorn, you can't do chips, you can't do all this stuff. And so if life wasn't bad enough, you know, you've got all this stuff mounting up. Middle school are those years where it's like, no, like you never want to go back and relive your middle school years. And it's one of those things where back in the day, when you had photo evidence of the awkwardness, you could have like a bonfire and burn it, right? Like you could take all the awkward photos that your parents would show your dates. They'd go, here, let me pull out the photo album. And then you're like, no, you know, not that album. But you could burn them ceremoniously, and it would all be better. But now we live in a social media culture where Facebook has blackmail on me for the rest of my life. They could, even if I delete them, Facebook still has them. There's no getting rid of those photos. And my mom posts them so lovingly. And see, middle school and high school and even on into college are those years when you're trying to figure out things about your life. You're trying to figure out your style. And different things come and go into style. So like bell bottoms were a style at one point in time. And if you hold on to them long enough, they will be back in style. So that's why you don't give your clothes away because they may come back. So bell bottoms were in style, or like Sperry's. Sperry's were like the really popular thing for a period of time. Or, I heard someone call this top shelving it, where you're buttoning your top button on your shirt. That's like the thing to do right now. That's like, if you want to be hip, you got to do that, And we go through all these styles, and in middle school, I was all sorts of awkward, okay? I basically wore clothes that made me look like a Nike model. So what that means is I had the Nike shirt with the Nike shorts and the Nike shoes and the Nike socks. And so I would wear this to school every day, mesh shorts and a t-shirt. And my sister, who's 5 years older than me, would look at me in disgust. You are not wearing that. And I'm like, yes, Beck, this is what's cool. Of course I knew what fashion was. As a sixth grader, I knew the latest and greatest, The best thing is the shorts were reversible. So what that meant is they were black one day and red the next day. And no one could tell. Or so I thought, yeah, check out my red shorts today. I thought I was so cool. And then you had the matching shirt to go with, black shirt, red bottom, red shirt, black bottom, and that was my outfit. All of sixth grade was like 2 pairs of shorts and 4 shirts. I just kept wearing them over and over again. Winter, throw on a jacket, still wear the mesh shorts. That was my thing. I was all sorts of awkward. One time I was chewing on a gel pen, an bright orange gel pen, in science class, and I remember tasting something that wasn't normal. And I went, bleh, and on the table, just orange everywhere. And the teacher goes, you're cleaning that up. Or in 6th grade, orange gel pen all over the table because I was chewing on my pen. I was just awkward as you can be. And it's kind of like that moment, the first day of school, you walk into the cafeteria with your tray at lunch, frozen. Because you don't know who to sit with. You're like, this defines the rest of my middle school career. Where I sit on the first day of 6th grade is now determining my crowd forever, It's just that time where you're trying to find identity. You're trying to figure out who you are, who you want to be. What crowd am I going to fit into? Am I the band crowd? Am I the jock crowd? Am I the prep crowd? Am I the golf crowd? Am I the theater kids crowd? Like, there's all these different crowds, and our students are going through these things trying to figure out who they are and what's going on with their life. And then you got me. I was the football player, show choir dance captain. Think about that. Like, I led dances on stage in competitions. And so that was my crowd. Like, where does the dance captain football player fit in? Nowhere. And so I'm trying to find, hey, you want to be my friend? And no one's, it just is awkward, trying to figure it out, and it just doesn't fit in the, square peg in the round hole. It just doesn't work. And I felt like a misfit. And so as a student pastor, we walk through all these things of where does our identity come from? Because that's where you're at. And we've all gone through those years. And I will say I'm jealous of the kids who stayed cool in every stage of life. You know what I'm talking about? I can think of kids and names in my head, and I won't say them for fear that they may watch this online and I will have called them out. But I can think of kids where they were cool elementary schoolers, if there's such a thing. And then they were cool middle schoolers. Then they were cool high schoolers. And I'm like, come on, man. Give me a piece of the coolness. I don't even want the whole thing. I just want a bit. And so here's the deal. In the spirit of authenticity, I thought, well, Facebook could blackmail me. Or if I ever want to run for president, who knows what pictures they'll pull up off of Facebook. So I thought if I just get them out in the open with you guys and just share my awkwardness with all of you, then nothing can be held against me because everyone will already know. Because, oh gosh, we'll see if you're still clapping in 5 minutes. Because here's the deal. I was awkward, and that makes us misfits because we don't fit in. And so let me throw up the first picture up here. Yes. That's the response I've gotten in every service, so that's good. This is the cutest one you'll see, okay? It doesn't go uphill from here. It's all down. But you'll look, okay, so I was hipster before it was cool. I've got the button all the way up, suspenders, I'm living it up. But you will see a trend of bad haircuts, okay? I just want you to know we all have that history, but I have a trend of bad haircuts. And so I look and I'm like, what is my hair? It just kind of went, and that's just how it happened. So, and the top button's different color than the other buttons. It's a red and the other ones are blue. They match the suspenders and the button. So go to the next picture. This is where they get a little more embarrassing. So that's, they're still getting the odds, okay? That was my school picture. And if you play football or know anything about football, you look and go, he's not holding that ball right at all. I'm just kind of hugging it. It's 5 points of contact, man. You got to but the Reggie White jersey's timeless, okay? Any Packers fans? Anyone? A few? Okay, there we go. So, and you'll see that'll come back because I wore the same things over and over again. I already told you that. But look at the hair. I rode the flat top train into the ground, okay? It was never that cool, and it's 6 inches tall. What were my parents thinking? I'm not old enough to make my own decisions at this point. They needed to change something. And so the goal of this flat top was this: grow it tall enough so I can slant it. That was the goal of the flat top, was I wanted the slanted flat top. Thank the Lord that never happened, because this is bad enough. I don't need another photo added into the repertoire here. Now, before you throw up the next one, this is the most embarrassing one, okay? I can't live it down. So here we go. Go ahead and throw the next one on the screen. Those aren't ahs, those are ohs. Those shorts are inappropriately short. I really wasn't sure if it'd be appropriate to show in church. My sister reams me on this photo every year. See, my mom, this is what she does. It's my son's birthday this week. I want to show pictures and celebrate my son and how much I love him. And I'm going, this is not love. This is torturing your son and then going, but I love him. It's not okay. Plus, the hair is awful. The shorts are bad enough. The hair is, it's bad. This is bad. The next one is actually kind of cool. Go ahead and throw up the next one. Packers jersey again. My dog, that could be a photo, like a framed photo of my dog. She's rocking the sunglasses. I've got the jorts and I've got the long socks. The jorts, jean shorts. That's new. You can take that home with you. If you didn't know that phrase before, that's what we talk about in student ministry. So now you would think I would outgrow this, right? Hopefully my Misfit years end, but they didn't. And so this next one's from college. I worked at a camp. That's how all good stories start. I worked at a camp, and we did Secret Santa. And we had to design a costume for the person. And so I was the leader of Team Revolution. So my shirt says Revolution Princess. And I have fairy wings and a tiara, and I had a little thing, wand. I don't know what happened to it. And then the last one's from my engagement to my now wife. And she had already said yes. There was no backing out. I made sure. And I would love to say this is the only photo with a flower in my mouth, but it is a trend on Facebook. I was looking for photos, and I'm going, why do I always have a rose in my mouth? I have one in a sock monkey hat and a rose in my mouth. I don't know. And so we all have misfit years that we go through where we just feel like we don't fit in anywhere. And the thing is, it goes way beyond awkward photos. See, there are things, deep-seated hurt, that we carry with ourselves from middle school. You could be an adult and have middle schoolers and still be carrying scars from your school-age years. Because people start defining you a certain way, and so you just start accepting that that's who you are. And so for me, it was always, you're too fat, you're too goofy, you're too loud. And so people started defining me that way, and so that's just how I started defining myself. And a lot of that too goofy and too loud came from me trying to make up for my insecurities of being too fat. And people were saying all this stuff, and I would try to laugh it off, but it hurt. And we carry around these pains from our past that people have defined, well, they're this way, they're this person. And we've just accepted it. And instead of living in what God defines us as, we start living in how people define our lives. And we carry around these scars. And so in the social media world, it's really easy to start comparing our lives to other people's lives. And so we look and we go, well, I don't meet people's expectations. Your parents still may be going, well, you never became a doctor. And you're going, man, I just never could meet up to my parents' expectations. And you're an adult and you're still harboring that. And so we look and we go, well, my family's not as put together. You look at these Christmas cards and the family's perfect and they're holding the letters that spell out something, and it just is, you're like, man, if only my family could be like that family. You read the book that they send you. Some people, they send a 3-page letter talking about their entire family, and their son Joey is an astrophysicist and your son's working minimum wage, and you're going, where did I go wrong, We start looking and we just go, well, man, if my family could only be like that family, then life would be a little bit better. We'd look a little more put together. Or my job just isn't as prestigious as some of the people I know. I'm working and I'm barely scraping by paying my bills, and these people, they have jobs, they're making six figures, and they can get their kids whatever they want for Christmas, and I'm barely able to give any kind of Christmas. And we start defining ourselves that way and go, I just don't fit. I just can't do what these other people do. When Alicia and I first got married, we were losing money every month. I mean, newlyweds, it's like you're scraping by, and we weren't paying any rent. We were living in a place that her parents owned, and we were still like losing money out of our savings every month trying to cover our bills. And we had a friend who they were traveling everywhere. They had bought a new house, bought new cars. And I'm just looking at Alicia going, man, both of us are working and we can't even pay our bills. And you're looking at other people going, man, I wish my life could just look like theirs. Or we look at people and we go, man, their path is just so straight. They got out of high school, they went to their dream college, met their dream spouse, got their dream job, have everything going for them, and my path isn't like that. My path is up and down, and I couldn't get good grades in high school, so I went to a trade school, and my job doesn't pay a whole lot, and I got a divorce, and all this happened, and my path is just this. Their path just seems so smooth and so easy. My past isn't clean like theirs is. Mine's a mess. I have addictions that defined me for a long time, and I just, I don't want that out in the open. Why does this person have it so easy and I've got it so hard? I just feel like I don't fit in. But here's the beautiful thing. God uses the misfits. God uses the misfits. You don't have to be perfect to be used by God. You just have to be willing to be used by God. He doesn't go, well, you don't have this job. You don't have this amount of money. Your kids act out. You're never going to get what I have for you. No, he goes, I want to use you and your mess. And here's the thing. So when we look at the Bible, there are lists of names called genealogies. It's kind of like Ancestry.com for the Bible. Anyone do Ancestry.com? Like, you get to find out all these things about your relatives, ancestors. And my dad found out that we are Dutch. My grandparents came, or however many greats, came to America. And my great whatever grandfather fought for the British in the Revolutionary War. And his family abandoned him. And I'm like, no, that's like the tragic thing. You look and you're like, how could you? Even though I didn't know him and had nothing to do with that. And then he switched sides, he defected to America, and you're like, yeah, America, It's like all these emotions to a person you never knew. But these genealogies are those sections that we skip. We reading and then, list of names, skip to the next part, and then you read. You know what I'm talking about? It's who are Jabodada, and you can't pronounce half the names, and it's just I always just say, just read them with confidence. No one else will know that you're saying it wrong. But there's just these lists of names that we just skip, and there's two genealogies that talk about Jesus' family. And if you really look at them, it's amazing because God could have created the perfect family for the perfect path to have the perfect king enter the world. He could have, if he wanted to, orchestrated everything so everyone went, man, look how at Jesus' past and look at all that brought Jesus into the world. It was the perfect family. But he doesn't do that. If you look at the genealogy, you find thieves. You find adulterers. You find murderers and prostitutes. You find widows, idol worshipers, liars, cowards, and outsiders. God could have made the perfect family, but he didn't. He used the misfits in this world to bring the perfect Son of God to die for us, to save us from being a misfit. You look and you go, well, man, if God can use them, then God can use me. Because we're not too far gone. You look at the family, and they went through enslavement. They went through wandering. Then there was moments where they were conquest and victory and everything's going well. And then there was defeat and there was decline and exile. They got deported and then eventually back into captivity. You're like, man, The people that led to Jesus went through some stuff. I can relate with them. Because if it was a perfect family, you'd go, well, of course Jesus was perfect. He had a perfect family. But God goes, no. I used an imperfect situation to put a perfect person here to save us all. God uses the misfits. He uses misfits like you and me. And so here we find a group of misfits in a field on the night Jesus was born. In Luke 2, verse 8 is where we're going to start. It says, that night there were shepherds staying in the fields nearby, guarding their flocks of sheep. And I'll pause right there. When I picture shepherds, I picture little kids in bathrobes with ropes around their waist. Because I grew up in the church where you had the Christmas pageant. You know what I'm talking about? Like all the kids get drafted into being on stage, and they're like, I don't want it. You're going to be Jesus, like they don't have the choice. And so I remember being a shepherd and like hitting the sheep with my staff, They'd be like, stop, stop, psh, That's what I picture. I was the little kid in the kids' choir. We have video evidence where I was like, whoo, like if I'm wired, this is me for my entire life. And so I was in the kids' choir, and there's this video where I disappear and pop up somewhere else. It was like whack-a-mole Jason, like boop, and then I boop, I'm like disappearing and popping up. That's what I picture is like little rambunctious children, swaddled and like, oh, I'm a shepherd, But that's not the shepherds here. These shepherds stink. They sleep in a field. They're nomads. They have really no home. They're social outcasts. They can't go to church because they have a job and they're considered unclean, which back in the day was a big deal. People looked at them and said they're uneducated to the point where they couldn't even go to court to testify. So they thought, well, they can't give a testimony. They're untrustworthy, they're unsavory, and they're uneducated. They're unreliable. People looked at the shepherds and they were like the most blue collar of blue collar workers. This was a job that children would do. This is not a job for an adult. This is a job for a child. If you look in the Old Testament, King David was the youngest son of Jesse. And when they came to anoint one of Jesse's sons as king, the guy looked from every single son and said, well, do you have any more sons? And he goes, oh yeah, there's the littlest one. He's out in the field. Because he was shepherding, because that's what the littlest kids did. Doesn't take a whole lot. You hang out with the sheep, you surround them with a little pen, and you sleep in the doorway in case an enemy comes, in case a predator comes. These were people no one wanted to do with at all. These were the misfits of all the misfits. And yet, the crazy thing is God uses them and makes them a big, big part of the story. Let's keep reading. It says, suddenly an angel of the Lord appeared among them, and the radiance of the Lord's glory surrounded them, and they were terrified. And rightfully so. It's pitch black. Couple of shepherds around a campfire eating chili beans. Giant glowing person. I would be scared too. It's like, whoa, where did you come from? And they're terrified. And then the angel goes, but the angel reassured them, don't be afraid. Which is easy to say if you're the angel. Hey, don't be afraid. And it's like, don't. It's easy to say if you're the angel. He said, I bring you good news that will bring great joy to all people. The Savior, yes, the Messiah, the Lord, has been born today in Bethlehem, the city of David. And you will recognize him by this sign. You will find a baby wrapped snugly in strips of cloth lying in a manger or a food trough. Suddenly the angel was joined by a vast host of others, the armies of heaven. Come on, guys. You've already scared them to death. You might as well just amp it up and just keep going with the armies thing. It says, praising God and saying, glory to God in the highest heaven, peace on earth to those who God is pleased. And when the angels had returned to heaven, the shepherds said to each other, let's go to Bethlehem. Let's see the thing that has happened, which the Lord has told us about. He didn't go to the cool kids table. He didn't go to the palace and say, hey, king, you need to know about this. He didn't go to the highest officials in the land. He went to the misfits. He went to the shepherds. He said, I know no one else wants anything to do with you, but I have a huge plan for your life that you don't even know about yet. He came to them, and here's the beautiful thing. They leave everything behind. The shepherds don't go, oh, well, I'm just a shepherd. Like, they didn't mean to send that message to me. Oh, I'm a shepherd. I've got stuff to do. I've got sheep to worry about. No, they leave everything. Sheep are notoriously dumb, okay? They can be led right off a cliff to their death. That's why they need a shepherd. And here these guys go, look, we're leaving it all behind. We have to see what God has done. And how many of us go through life not living like the shepherds? God's trying to show you something huge, and you're going, well, I've got this stuff I got to worry about. Well, God, you don't understand. I've got sheep that I've got to tend to. God's like, this is like the biggest news I could ever tell anyone. You've got to see this. We need to be more like the outcasts. We need to be more like the shepherds. They left everything because they had to see what God had done. Here's the main point. If you take notes, if you're going to write anything down, here's what you write down. God looks at your potential, not your problems. God looks at your potential, not your problems. God's not looking going, hey, you're too dumb, you're too smelly, you're too much of an outcast. God is looking at them and says, I want you, you are mine, I want to use you. God is looking going, hey, I know what everyone has said about you your entire life, but that's not what defines you. I'm what defines you. And I don't know about you guys, but I need that. Because there are plenty of times when I have just written off things and missed out on opportunities. And God's sitting here going, I have this huge plan that you need to be a part of. And there are times when I don't see it because I'm so focused on the sheep that I miss the message that he has. When I was in middle school, I wanted to play basketball. I'm not built to play basketball. But I wanted to. I played in my driveway, and I thought, of course, I can try out for this team. So I went out for the Salem Middle School, trying to remember what our mascot was. Went out for the Salem Middle School basketball team. Put on my stuff, probably the same stuff I wore to school that day. And I walk into the gym, and I could have sworn they were all like LeBron James in like a middle school body. Like, I mean, there had to have been some kids dunking. Like, I walked in, and I'm just like intimidated, completely. They're all dribbling through cones and doing all this stuff, and I'm like the, big friendly giant. I'm just kind of like. The only thing I was good for in basketball was I was big, so I could push people out of the way and possibly get the rebound if I jumped at the right time, because my jump was like, So as long as I didn't get out jumped, I was okay. So I went through the tryout, and I thought, this is awful. I felt so out of place. I felt like such a misfit. And I was like, man, I'm not even going to go back the next day. And they said, well, hey, we're going to have, second cuts or whatever, and we'll post the list. So the next day, I didn't even bring my stuff. I told my parents, I went home and said, I'm not doing that. That's not for me. So I get to school and go to class. My friends came up to me and they're like, Jason, where were you? What are you talking about? I said, you made the second cut. I said, stop joking. I said, no, you made the second cut. But because I had defined myself and said, I'm not good enough, I missed an opportunity. Because people saw potential in me that I didn't see in myself. See, God's got a plan for you. I don't know what your mess is. Some of your messes are bigger than others. But you're never too far gone. Because God sees your potential, not all the mistakes. And he goes, I want to use you exactly how you are, all the stuff you've gone through. I want to change your life. You've got potential, but we just don't see it yet. So here's the deal. Some of us, we go, there's no potential. I couldn't even see God if he showed up as a giant glowing person. I'm so distracted by what's going on that I would miss him. I wouldn't even know what to listen for. And so maybe today, you need to hear from him. You need to know him personally first. Because he wants to give you hope. Because Christmas season is stressful. And we're just running from thing to thing to thing, and we're missing the moments that are happening in our life. And we're like, I just need to be rescued. I need God to love me and show me all the potential that I have because I can't see it in myself. So I just want you guys all to bow your heads if you would. And if that's you, if you're like, man, I know God has a plan, I can't see it yet. Do you just raise your hand? Thanks. You can put your hands down. Here's the deal. You've just got to give it up. You've just got to let yourself go and go, God, I'm a misfit, but I'm a misfit that I know you can use. And so you can just pray something like this. Father God, I need to just give you everything. I've been trying to do it on my own, and God, I just have never been able to fit in. And God, you saw my potential and loved me anyway. So Father, thank you for sending your son to a messy family to be born, live a perfect life, and die so that he could take my sins. So Father, I am surrendering my life to you. I need you. And maybe that's not you. Maybe you're like, I've been there. I'm just caught up in the things. I'm so busy tending my sheep, I'm not seeing the plan that God has for my future. You're like, I just need to hear from God. I need to get my direction, my focus back. If that's you, I just want to pray for you. Because look, you've just got to ask him. You've just got to say, God, I know you have potential for me, and I need to refocus. Sometimes we lose focus of what's most important. So I want to pray for you, and because I know I get in those moments. And so Father God, in a season of life that is just crazy busy, it's easy to lose focus on you, God. And we go through and we define ourselves by what everyone else has told us. This is who you are. This is all you're going to amount to. But God, you see so much more in me. And so God, I want to see that plan. I want to see that purpose for me. And I just pray, God, that you would just give that to me. I'm claiming that, Father, that you would show me because you have a purpose for my life. So God, thank you that even though I have crazy backgrounds and circumstances, you still loved me anyway. In your name I pray, amen.